So, James, we spoke recently at the Drumcondra plaque honouring Patrick O'Connell. We also had a longer chat earlier at Talca Park about his life story. Today we're going to be focusing on his debut for Ireland, which I believe took place in Dalymount Park. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Dalymount Park was where Patrick O'Connell got the first of his caps for Ireland. So this was 1912, so long before the Republic of Ireland was, set up. He didn't play for the Republic of Ireland, he played for Ireland, and he made his debut for Ireland against England at Dalymount Park in 1912. And actually I think what we mentioned in our interview about the life of Patrick O'Connell, there is a sculpture at the Real Betis Stadium Museum over in Seville. There is a sculpture of Patrick O'Connell, a bronze bust that was made by the Dublin artist Joe Moran. And actually that was donated to Real Betis at a match in March 2017. But before that bust was taken over to Seville and given to Real Betis, it was presented at Windsor Park, and it was also presented at Dalymount Park. And the reason why Joe Moran was there to display this bust on the pitch at Dalymount Park at a Bows versus Derry match, the reason they were there in February 2017 was because Patrick O'Connell had made his debut there for Ireland in 1912. So he presented it that night. Now, it wasn't a very enjoyable night for the family. It was Bows against Derry. It was the start of the 2017 men's Premier Division campaign. I think it was the 24th of February 2017.
Yeah. And
so this was the start of that 2017 season. So most of the fans that night who were, applauding the sculpture being presented at Dalymount Park, they didn't have a nice night. It was Derry beat Bows 4-1 that night. So the fans probably forgot, most of the people who saw the sculpture at Dalymount Park, they probably forgot about the bronze bust of O'Connell by the time they got home because they were so miserable about the result that night. But it did have a presentation at Dalymount Park and also one at Windsor Park before flying over to Seville to be presented to Real Betis.
So the sculpture ended up in Betis, but the real Patrick O'Connell, not the bust now, how did he get on in 1912 for his debut for Ireland? Was that a good game? Even worse.
Bows got beaten 4-1 when the Patrick O'Connell bust was presented at Dalymount. But poor Patrick O'Connell, when he played for Ireland and made his debut, it was against England in 1912. Ireland got beaten 6-1.
Oh dear.
So was it 10-2 on aggregate when you include the sculpture and the real Patrick O'Connell. Now, in fairness, we were playing against England. This was the British Home Championship, or the International Association Championship as it was called then. So every year you would have England, Scotland, Wales and Ireland play this annual tournament. They'd all play each other once, and invariably Ireland or Wales would be competing for the wooden spoon. So when Ireland played against England on the 10th of February 1912, Ireland had played England 30 times since the Home Championship was set up, since the International Association Championship was set up. And out of those 30 games between Ireland and England, Ireland didn't win a single match. They had 3 draws and 27 losses against the old enemy. But they actually went into that match at Dalymount Park in 1912 pretty confident that there was actually talk in the newspapers that maybe Ireland can, pull off a big result. But as would often happen back then, they had key players withdrawn shortly before kick-off because most of the players were playing, over in England or maybe in Scotland, and the clubs wouldn't release them.
Okay.
So there was a situation where they had 4 key players withdrawn. That didn't help matters, and things went pretty badly. Actually, O'Connell, he was playing as a centre. He made his debut. He was in the centre half-back role. So we mentioned this when we chatted about his life story, that teams played a 2-3-5 formation. So he was playing in the centre of that middle tree. Yeah. So his job was sort of to protect the 2 fullbacks or the 2 defenders, while also, helping get the ball to the 5 attackers. So Patrick O'Connell, he made his debut 10th of February 1912 against England at Dalymount Park, and he was right at the heart of the game. Apparently he actually played quite well, but Ireland got hammered. And there is a photograph. There is a very poor quality photograph of the team lining up that day, and as he was with all the photographs, the team photographs that he was in throughout his career, he was standing in the back row because he was quite tall, for that era especially. I think he was about 5'10" in height, but he was standing in the back row. So we do have a photograph. It's a very poor quality, grainy photograph, but we do have a photograph. And what's interesting is that Ireland were wearing blue.
Yeah.
So this wasn't the Republic of Ireland. He was playing for Ireland, and we weren't wearing green. We were wearing St. Patrick's blue. So that's just to sort of visualise the type of situation for Pat O'Connell when he made his debut. He was talked up in some of the papers. There was a great quote in the Irish Times where it was talking about this debuting Patrick O'Connell, coming back to Dublin to play for Ireland, and it described him as unquestionably a great player, more robust in style than clever, who was noted for his admirable forcing work, which makes him a decided asset to any team. So when you hear him being described as robust, who was great at forcing work, you immediately get the type of, and he's playing in the centre of the pitch.
Yeah.
Now, he did start out as a striker when he was younger, but by the time he was playing for Ireland and playing for Sheffield Wednesday over in England, he was playing as a half-back in the centre of the field. But it started off, things went well at the beginning. It was said that O'Connell was repeatedly conspicuous for splendid work. Ireland were playing well, had a couple of chances, but then England scored in the 13th minute, then they scored in the 17th minute. Ireland pulled the goal back through Mickey Hamill, who played for Man United, but then England scored a third goal before the interval. So it was a pretty difficult first half for Ireland after a bright start, and things got even worse.
Oh no! Can you tell us? Okay, what was it? 3-1 at half time.
3-1 at half time.
So was it a game of two halves, or did they?
It was a game of one long half. It's because what happened in the second half, it was there was headlines afterwards in the papers. It was disaster at Dalymount, Irish soccer debacle. What happened was, one journalist said this was a case of Ireland coming up against one of the finest forward lines that has ever done duty for the Saxon. So we lost a player through injury. It was 4-1 by the time we lost one of our players through injury. Frank Thompson of Clyde FC, a Scottish team, he picked up an injury, couldn't play on. And this was an era when there was no substitutions allowed. So Ireland had to play on. They were losing 4-1, reduced to 10 men through injury, and England went on to score a couple of late goals. Ireland became increasingly ragged as the match wore on. So it ended up being 6-1, the final score. So not the most auspicious debut for Ireland for Patrick O'Connell. England 6, Ireland 1. Disaster at Dalymount. But things did get much better for Patrick O'Connell afterwards. I mean, he played the next match. He got his second appearance for Ireland the next month at Windsor Park, this time against Scotland. Ireland got hammered again, unfortunately 4-1 this time. He didn't play the third game in the International Association Championship that year, 1912. He didn't feature in 1913, but 1914 he came back with a bang because he was a key player helping Ireland actually do something historic when they actually won that Association Championship, the first time they'd ever finished ahead of England, Scotland and Wales, and won the matches. He was captain when they beat England. So things did get much better for Patrick O'Connell in his Irish international career in 1914. So it wasn't all. It was a pretty grim doom and gloom start, but it's only fair to point out, and we can maybe talk about it in more detail another time. He did go on to do something extraordinary for Ireland not long afterwards, a couple of years afterwards. So it was a bad start, but things did get much better.
Yeah, that's great, James. That's definitely something we could look at and talk about at a future date.